Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Today with a pretty big update on the stern. You guys can see a lot has gone on since the last update. Trying to get a lot of things figured out, and one of those things that you guys can see is I did decide to motorize it. Went with a smaller motor for kind of a more compact fit, and did my best to place it in a good spot where I could still build a lot of strength around there, have room to do what I need to do. Kind of talk about that a bit. So first, I will show you how everything runs, because I have the battery pack hooked up here. I got the engines slid in, kind of did some things to those too. So we'll fire this up, and then I'll just kind of pan across the whole thing and let you guys watch everything move here. So here we go. So here you guys can see I got both engines going. Get a really cool effect of the crankshafts and the pistons going up and down. And then you guys can see my little gear tower at work there. And then the output shaft for the rudder prop. And then the port and starboard props. You guys can see the motor is kind of in a real cozy spot there. So it all works really good. The only thing I don't like about it is running very fast. When I decided that I wanted to go ahead and motorize this system, I did attempt to mount the motor up higher and actually run a small gear on top of this big gear. Things ran a little bit better speed, but I ran into some major issues where this motor was kind of up and interfering with some of this stuff that locks this in, and there wasn't any good way around it to try to fix it. Literally these attachment points right here were right where that motor was, and I had no way of getting those attached anymore. So I had everything built up to that point, so I had to strip everything back apart, get the motor down as low as I could, which is right in line with the big gear. So it's a hard shaft straight from the motor right through that gear, and then rests in the gear tower. So that's held in place pretty good. So the only downfall is everything spins a little fast, but it is cool to just push a button and have everything turning to actually visually see it turning. So we're just gonna roll with it. So it works pretty cool. Works really good. Didn't run into any issues with the motor binding anything up with having this gear being a little bit more stiff. Everything runs really good. Can run both directions. Everything runs really good. Nothing binds up. So that was one of the many tasks that I've been working on here, was just trying to figure out a good placement for a motor. I had thought about putting it on this side, but my room gets less and less and less as I go here, and it gets really hard to put more things in this area. So kind of at my build limitations as far as like how far out I can come with things, and I do have to keep in mind that there is more structural support that needs to come in here. And the motor, this was the best place for the motor, all except for these hinging points right here for these side brackets. this was the best place for it. I was really hoping I could have it up higher because, like I said, everything was spinning a little bit slower, but it is what it is. I'm just kind of glad to have everything turning on its own and I can just sit back and watch it. So that's really cool. The engines look really awesome, just being able to sit there and watch those turn. Slide those out. And you guys can see I've got the aft section of the engine room pretty much done. Got some vent details up in there. Nice color pattern on the wall. Rows of light gray and dark gray mixed together really well. The spine is really good too. That goes clear back. Of course, I couldn't go quite as high as I had the spine coming, so everything kind of tapers off in this area here. It is still very well connected underneath, and then once we get some more of this upper structure built, I can start to tie some things across here and kind of get the upper part put together. But it is all very strong. You guys can see I can pick it up from the end, give it the shake test. Nothing falls off, nothing comes apart. So everything's built really strong. This whole area in here is just solid, full of bricks and plates, tying everything together. So I got a lot of strength there. And one thing I want to show you guys, while everything is kind of able to be seen pretty clearly here, I'm going to grab one of these big side plates of the ship and just kind of slide it in place and show you guys the lack of room that I have. So I'm not going to click it in all the way, I'm just kind of holding it there, but you guys can see just how tight stuff is, and then once you click it in place, it's even tighter. So my build limitations get tighter and tighter as this stuff goes back, and you guys can see that there's another mounting point right there. So there is more support structure that needs to go in there for that to clip to. Same thing with that one too. So putting a motor on that side just wasn't very feasible. It was a lot more easy on this side. Like I said, it just doesn't quite spin as slow as I would like it, but it spins, so that's all I'm asking right now. There's nothing, physically nothing I can do to change the gearing anymore, just because it was quite the nightmare to get all that figured out to begin with, and it's a lot of work. So it took quite a bit of time, but everything's going pretty smooth so far. Like I said, just had that one hiccup of where I literally had the motor up too high. It just interfered with too much up here. I thought it was a good spot for it. It worked really good and had the speeds down, but it just hitting some build limitations here that I wasn't quite expecting. I didn't look far enough ahead in the instructions, and there's really no way to change that easily. So we just compromised with some faster speeds, lower the motor, and I mean, it's a good system the way it is. Like I said, all it's doing is just spinning slightly too fast. But everything works really good. Everything runs really smooth. I don't have any binding in the shafts. That was always a headache when the past 2 times I've built this ship, was when you slide these 2 sections together, there's a lot of shafts to try to line up, and some stuff doesn't really like that pressure when you're pushing it together, and then after you got it together, some stuff is really tight, and always kind of a hard thing to get all those shafts set and get everything spaced nicely. With dealing with it in 2 halves, I haven't had any of that issue with building this all in one section now. All the shafts went together really nice. Just had to make a couple adjustments here and there once I started getting things flattened out and built up and that, but everything is super strong now. Everything runs really smooth. You guys saw it. There's no binding, no hiccups as the motor's going around. All that stuff runs really, really smooth. So making good progress. Engine room looks really good now. Made a couple modifications in here to some of this area on the inside wall to kind of match the other end of the engine room, because there was some differences in Lego's instructions, and I had made some differences of my own. So I kind of took it back and made sure both sides of the engine room look pretty similar to each other, minus the back walls, of course. Next is still having to build up the back here a little bit, because I do have to go quite a ways ahead in the instructions and get a lot of the support back here started to kind of catch up with the front half here, so that way I can start tying all that together in this area, strengthening that all. And then one thing I'm going to have to figure out is the placement of my power pack. This power pack has different dimensions from the original power pack that was there for the mock, so I have to figure out where this is going to sit up here. I need to make it accessible, so I am probably going to use some of the mock instructions as far as like getting this section, keeping this section a removable section. I won't be able to use the button function, so I'm going to rebuild that whole stack anyway. But so I am going to try to reuse some of the ideas on that, and just have to kind of figure out how everything's going to sit once I get up to the top here. Hopefully I can just find a nice easy spot to kind of build up and get this to kind of sit into place nice. I don't know if I'll have the depth to have it sit upright like this. I would like to have that depth, so that way it's easy to get to the button. Might have to be on its side though, so like I said, still a lot to figure out, but we're getting there. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that update, and making some big progress here. Got a lot of stuff going, and there's a lot of work left to do. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and until next time, take care.